What if everything you've been taught about reality is backwards? What if your thoughts, emotions, and even the energy you carry aren't just inside your head, but actually shaping entire timelines? Imagine being able to shift your life into a version of reality where opportunities, synchronicities, and abundance flow effortlessly to you not by luck, but by mastering your own vibration. Most people drift through life, trapped in low-frequency patterns, never realizing they are anchored to timelines filled with fear, stress, and stagnation. But there's a way to break free. Ancient wisdom, quantum research, and the mechanics of consciousness all point to the same truth. The timeline you live in responds directly to the frequency you emit. In the next few minutes, I'll reveal how to release the energy holding you back. Align your mind, body, and emotions, and step into parallel realities where your highest potential already exists. If you're ready to stop being a passenger in your life and start becoming the creator of your destiny, pay attention, because what I'm about to share will change the way you experience time, reality, and yourself forever. You might think vibrations and timelines are just abstract concepts, spiritual cliches, or metaphors meant to make life feel magical. But the truth is far more tangible. Every thought, every emotion, every subtle pattern of your nervous system generates a measurable frequency, a signal that radiates from your body into the field of reality around you. These signals are not random. They act like a radio tuner, selecting versions of reality that already exist. Every choice, every feeling, every unspoken intention is broadcasting a specific frequency. And the universe responds not to your wishful thinking, but to the resonance of the signal you're putting out. Imagine that. Right now, countless versions of your life are playing out simultaneously, each slightly different, each dependent on a unique vibration. There are timelines where you are confident, abundant, and thriving. Others where you feel stuck, constrained, or drained. You may feel unlucky, or trapped, or like the world is working against you, but it's not fate, it's resonance. Your body and mind are tuned to a frequency that locks you into one particular thread of reality, and that's the one you experience. Most people try to change their lives from the outside in. They believe that new habits, routines, or actions can shift the course of their lives. But actions are surface-level phenomena. If your inner frequency remains unchanged, you will continue to attract the same patterns, the same cycles, and the same results. That is why affirmations often fail. That is why people can work tirelessly toward goals and yet feel as though they are running in place. The timeline responds to the energy, not the intention. Your internal state determines the version of reality you align with. And that brings us to a simple, radical truth. If you want to shift your timeline, you must shift your frequency. But where does this frequency come from? It doesn't emerge solely from your thoughts, though your mind does contribute. It originates from deeper layers of your being, the subtle rhythms of your body, the flow of energy through your nervous system, the quality of your emotions, and the coherence of your internal state. These are the invisible forces that anchor you to a particular reality. Your breath is the primary mechanism. It is not just air moving in and out of your lungs, but the core rhythm of your nervous system. When you breathe shallowly, when your chest rises and falls rapidly, you generate chaos in your internal electromagnetic field. That chaos aligns you with chaotic timelines, missed opportunities, failed connections, and repeated setbacks. When you breathe deeply, intentionally, and rhythmically, you bring your nervous system into coherence. The field around your body stabilizes, your signal becomes clear, and suddenly the timeline that responds to calm, focused, and aligned frequency becomes available to you. Yet breath alone is only part of the equation. Our minds are saturated with noise, mental chatter, stress, obligations, unprocessed emotions, all of which distort and scatter your frequency. Silence, then, becomes a powerful tool. True silence is not merely the absence of sound. It is the absence of interference. It allows your internal signals to reorganize, to recalibrate, and to release patterns anchored in the past. The versions of yourself shaped by failure, by pain, or by trauma dissolve into background noise, freeing your vibration to shift toward a new timeline. Silence is the reset button for consciousness, the space in which new realities can emerge. Movement is the third layer. Your body is not a machine. It is a tuning instrument, an antenna broadcasting a frequency. The way you carry yourself, the way you move, the way you inhabit space, every gesture, every posture, every flow sends instructions to your nervous system about who you are in this moment. Move like someone trapped, constrained, and fearful, and you will remain in a timeline that reflects stagnation and limitation. Move like someone alive, expansive, and open, and your field aligns with a timeline of vitality, creativity, and possibility. This is why ancient practices of dance, martial arts, and ritual movement exist across cultures. They weren't designed for exercise. They were designed to recalibrate vibration, to activate specific states of consciousness, and to access alternative timelines already present in the field. When breath, silence, and movement are harmonized, something extraordinary happens. Your internal frequency coheres, your signal becomes strong and clear. The universe responds not to your effort, but to your resonance. You are no longer trapped by habitual cycles. You enter a space in which the timelines available to you shift. New possibilities emerge, and what once felt impossible becomes accessible. But this is only the beginning. Many people attempt to shift their lives without addressing the emotional residue that anchors them. Fear, resentment, unresolved grief, and habitual anxiety are all vibrations. They act as weights, grounding you to a version of reality you no longer want. The body stores these vibrations, the mind feeds them, and together they create an invisible cage. Until you release them, you cannot move freely into higher timelines. The first step, then, is awareness. You must recognize that everything you experience is filtered through your internal state. The success, the setbacks, the synchronicities, the obstacles, all of it is a reflection of the vibration you are broadcasting. This is not about blame or judgment. It's about recognizing the mechanics of your own experience. Your life is a feedback loop. Your vibration selects your timeline. Your timeline reinforces your vibration, and the cycle repeats. Understanding this is both liberating and terrifying. Liberating because you finally realize that you have the power to tune your reality. Terrifying because the work is internal, relentless, and often uncomfortable. Now consider this. Modern society is designed to fragment your frequency. Endless notifications, constant information bombardment, superficial entertainment, social comparison, and chronic stress all scatter your internal coherence. Most people live in a state of low-frequency chaos, perpetually anchoring themselves to timelines of struggle, distraction, and stagnation. This isn't random. It is a systemic pattern. And yet, the tools to regain coherence, breath, silence, movement cost nothing, require no external authority, and exist in every human being from birth. The ancients knew this. They encoded these principles into ritual, movement, and meditation practices that were accessible to anyone who would learn them. The technology of vibration is built into your biology. The next truth is subtle but essential. The timelines you access are not hypothetical. They are not mere dreams. They exist in parallel. Every possibility is real, every version of you is real. The difference between a stagnant life and a thriving one is not effort, luck, or circumstance. It is the frequency with which you resonate. A slight shift in internal coherence can redirect you into a new reality that is more aligned with your potential, more reflective of your highest capabilities, and more vibrant than you have ever experienced. To move into these timelines, awareness is not enough. You must begin recalibrating your internal system. You start with your breath. Observe it. Notice whether it is shallow or deep, fast or slow, constricted or expansive. Then intentionally alter it. Slow it down. Engage your diaphragm fully. Allow each inhale to fill your body, expanding the chest, ribcage, and abdomen. Pause. Hold. Let the oxygen saturate every cell. Then exhale fully, longer than the inhale, letting tension drain out of every tissue. This is not a mystical exercise. It is biology. You are literally changing the chemistry of your blood, the electromagnetic coherence of your nervous system, and the rhythm of your heart. Each conscious breath acts like a tuning knob, adjusting your frequency closer to timelines of clarity, flow, and vitality. Silence is next. But the silence required is not meditation in the conventional sense. It is intentional absence of mental clutter. Turn off the distractions. Sit quietly. Do not attempt to control or suppress thought. Instead, witness it. Imagine your mind is a river and thoughts are leaves floating on the surface. You do not grab them. You do not follow them. You observe. In doing so, the internal static, the accumulated emotional debris from years of unresolved stress, fear, and trauma begins to dissipate. The nervous system reconfigures, neural pathways recalibrate. The frequency of your consciousness becomes less reactive, more coherent, and aligned with timelines of possibility rather than limitation. Movement completes the triad. Your body is the final instrument of vibration calibration. Stand, stretch, sway, rotate. Move with awareness, intention, and flow. Each deliberate motion broadcasts signals into your internal field, signaling readiness, openness, and alignment. This is why ancient traditions emphasized movement as a form of energy tuning. Shaolin forms, Sufi whirling, yoga sequences, and shamanic dances were not performances. They were frequency engineering. They sent the body and consciousness into resonance with realities that were otherwise inaccessible. When you move with attention and fluidity, you are literally opening doors into timelines where your body, mind, and environment respond in kind. Now, consider the implications of this understanding. Every habit, every chronic emotional pattern, every way of moving or holding your body is continuously broadcasting into reality. If you are unconsciously transmitting fear, tension, or contraction, you remain locked in timelines that mirror those vibrations. And yet, this also means that you are never trapped. Your frequency can be recalibrated at any moment. The timeline you inhabit is not fixed. It is dynamic, responsive, and malleable to the internal shifts you are willing to make. Here is where most people fail. They attempt to shift timelines superficially, with conscious effort alone. They try to act as if to force outcomes or to visualize goals. But if the body remains in tension, the breath remains shallow, and the mind is cluttered, those efforts are only noise, inconsequential signals lost in the chaotic field they are already projecting. The internal vibration always dominates. External effort without internal alignment is like trying to change the channel on a TV without plugging it in. No matter how frantically you press buttons, nothing changes until the energy source is corrected. To access new timelines, one must release the energetic weight of the old. Emotional residue is the ballast that keeps you anchored in repeated patterns. Fear, anger, resentment, and grief all vibrate at frequencies that align with timelines of limitation. To release them, you must first become aware of them. Then, through breath, silence, and movement, you allow those frequencies to dissipate without judgment. This is not avoidance, it is recalibration. The old timelines collapse naturally when they are no longer supported by your coherent internal signal, making space for more aligned realities to emerge. This is not theory, it is observable. People who integrate these 3 layers of frequency management consistently report profound changes. Synchronistic events, effortless problem solving, renewed energy, clarity of thought, and emotional stability. Even subtle changes in breath patterns can produce measurable shifts in heart rate variability, brainwave coherence, and hormonal balance. These physiological shifts correlate with access to timelines that were previously inaccessible, a science disguised as mysticism, revealed through experience. What most fail to understand is that the universe does not prioritize effort or intention. It prioritizes resonance. The timeline you experience responds to the vibration you are embodying moment to moment. One person may spend years striving, grinding, and struggling to change their external circumstances, yet remain trapped in a version of life that mirrors internal tension. Another may spend minutes realigning breath, silence, and movement, and experience a cascade of synchronicities that accelerates transformation exponentially. The difference is frequency, not effort. And here lies the hidden truth. You are already equipped to shift your timeline. You do not need external validation, complicated systems, or mystical artifacts. Your biology, consciousness, and nervous system contain everything necessary. All that is required is disciplined attention, awareness, and the willingness to practice consistently. The principles are simple, yet their power is profound. Every conscious breath, every moment of true silence, every fluid, mindful movement strengthens the resonance of your internal signal. This signal determines which version of reality you experience. Your current timeline, every repeated cycle of frustration, limitation, and inertia, is simply the reflection of the vibration you have been sustaining. Once you begin recalibrating, the timeline shifts. The universe, like a mirror, responds instantly. Opportunities that seemed impossible become visible. Decisions become clear. Relationships, work, and personal growth start to flow naturally, because your internal frequency has aligned with a reality where those outcomes already exist. This is the foundation of vibration and parallel timelines. It is radical because it turns the conventional understanding of effort, struggle, and progress upside down. It is liberating because it gives you agency over the reality you inhabit. And it is simple, because it requires nothing more than alignment with your own internal system, coherent breath, purposeful silence, and intentional movement. Once these three are integrated, everything changes. Life no longer feels like a sequence of obstacles and setbacks. You begin to inhabit the timeline that your higher self has always been waiting for. And this is only the beginning. Now that you understand the fundamental connection between vibration and the timelines you inhabit, it's time to explore the mechanics of how shifts occur and why so many attempts fail despite sincere effort. Most teachings stop at the surface level. Raise your vibration, or think positively, as if reality responds to a vague intention. But that's only half the story. Frequency isn't an abstract idea. It is a living, measurable, and malleable force inside your body and mind. And it is intricately tied to your emotional patterns. Emotions are the accelerators and brakes of your timeline. Fear, doubt, resentment, and anger all generate low-frequency energy. They compress your internal field, creating a gravitational pull toward timelines where limitation, repetition, and stagnation dominate. Meanwhile, elevated emotions, joy, curiosity, gratitude, love, and awe expand your internal field, lifting you into timelines of possibility, flow, and abundance. This isn't mystical, it's physics. Your body and mind produce subtle electromagnetic fields. When these fields are coherent and expansive, they resonate with high-probability timelines where creativity, opportunity, and alignment flourish. When they are fragmented and constricted, the universe mirrors that same fragmentation back to you. This is why emotional hygiene is not optional if you want to access new timelines. You must learn to feel your emotions fully, without being hijacked by them, and then release them so they no longer anchor your vibration. The ancients encoded this wisdom in rituals, movement practices, and contemplative exercises that modern society dismisses as superstition. But they were, in fact, sophisticated methods for emotional recalibration. Dance, chant, breathwork, and silent reflection all serve the same purpose, clearing energetic blockages that prevent access to higher frequency realities. Let's take fear as an example. Most people think fear is just a mental reaction to perceived danger. But fear is actually a precise signal, a vibration that travels through your nervous system, blood, and subtle energy channels, compressing your field and distorting perception. The body doesn't know whether the fear is rational or imagined. It only registers the frequency. Chronic fear locks you into timelines where limitation repeats, where relationships fracture, opportunities vanish, and progress stalls. Releasing that fear is not about reasoning it away. It is about shifting the internal vibration so that fear no longer holds sway. This is where breath, silence, and movement converge into a single, unified protocol. Conscious breathing floods the nervous system with oxygen, increases heart coherence, and generates an electromagnetic field that signals stability, calm, and readiness. Silence allows the mind to release repetitive, destructive thought patterns, dissolving emotional residue and giving space for higher frequency emotions to arise. Movement, especially mindful, fluid, and expansive motion, completes the recalibration by activating energy pathways in the body, circulating life force through every cell, and embedding the new vibration into your physical system. When done together, these practices are not just beneficial, they are transformational. But here's the twist. The shifts in vibration are subtle at first. You won't wake up the next morning and see your dream life fully formed. The timelines don't collapse instantly. Instead, the field begins to open, cracks appear in the structures of limitation, and glimpses of possibility manifest in small, precise synchronicities. A conversation may suddenly take a surprising turn. A new opportunity may appear where none existed before. A decision that used to feel impossible may now feel intuitive. The universe responds in proportion to the coherence of your frequency. And this is why consistency matters far more than intensity. 1 hour of alignment once a week does little. 10 minutes of breath, 5 minutes of silence, and 3 minutes of mindful movement each day compounds exponentially. Like a seed planted in fertile soil, daily practice allows your internal system to grow strong roots, anchoring you to higher frequency timelines that were previously inaccessible. These small, repeatable acts of alignment gradually recalibrate your body, mind, and energy system until your vibration becomes the default state, and the universe mirrors this change back to you effortlessly. Now, imagine the role of imagination, not in the sense of wishful thinking, but in active, focused creation. Your mind, when coherent, is not just a receiver of reality, it is a generator. By imagining yourself already inhabiting the timeline you desire, feeling the sensations, living the emotions, experiencing the results, you reinforce the vibration that corresponds to that reality. The brain cannot distinguish between vividly imagined experience and actual experience. Neural pathways fire as though the timeline is real. Your body responds as though it is living it. And the universe, always responding to resonance, begins to reflect this frequency back into your external reality. This brings us to parallel timelines. Many people assume there is only one linear path for life, but in truth, every moment branches infinitely into new possibilities. Every emotional state, every thought, every action creates a fork. Your vibration determines which fork you follow. Low-frequency states keep you on timelines that are repetitive and limiting. High-frequency states open doors to realities where opportunities, synchronicities, and growth accelerate. Accessing these timelines is not a matter of luck. It is a matter of frequency calibration. But here is the danger that most overlook: interference. Society is structured to scatter attention, fragment perception, and maintain low-frequency dominance. The endless stream of notifications, the bombardment of media, the subtle pressures of comparison, and the constant cognitive load all fragment your nervous system, scatter your field, and anchor you to timelines that do not serve you. This is why simply knowing the mechanics of vibration is not enough. You must actively protect and cultivate coherence. You must create internal space, maintain clarity, and consistently realign your system. Otherwise, the timelines you access will remain dominated by external noise and habitual low-frequency patterns. Emotional mastery is also non-negotiable. High-frequency timelines require the active release of internalized toxicity, anger, resentment, envy, and fear. These energies are heavy, compressive, and sticky. They anchor you in timelines that mirror their vibration, no matter how hard you try to escape externally. The ancients understood this. They designed practices, ceremonial movement, breath, and meditation, specifically to evacuate these energies. Modern science is catching up. Research on heart coherence, vagus nerve stimulation, and emotional processing shows that releasing pent-up emotion improves not just psychological well-being, but also cellular function hormonal balance, and even genetic expression. Once you master this triad: breath, silence, and movement, while actively clearing emotional interference, you begin to operate on a fundamentally different level. You are no longer a passive participant in life. You are a conscious navigator of parallel timelines. You are not reacting to circumstance. You are broadcasting coherence that attracts aligned realities. And the most astonishing part is that this is fully reproducible. The process is neither mystical nor random. It is systematic, biological, and energetic. The ancients discovered it. We've verified fragments of it scientifically, and now you have access to it. The universe does not judge. It does not reward effort or morality. It responds to the frequency of your being. The timelines that you can inhabit are limited only by the coherence and alignment of your vibration. This is the real power, hidden behind spiritual teachings, meditation, and movement practices. It is the mechanism that governs the manifestation of reality itself. And once you understand it, you see the hidden truth. Every setback, every obstacle, every pattern of limitation is not an external curse. It is simply a reflection of internal incoherence. From this perspective, everything changes. Your health, your relationships, your career, and your personal growth are no longer separate phenomena. They are all interconnected manifestations of the vibration you maintain. Shifting one aspect, breathing, emotion, or movement, reverberates through the entire system, gradually shifting your timeline. The universe responds as a perfect mirror. This is not abstract theory. It is the science of existence, encoded in every living being, ancient civilization, and spiritual tradition. The tools are simple, yet the effects are profound. And here is the most important part. You can start immediately. Once you grasp the connection between vibration and timelines, the next step is understanding how to amplify your frequency deliberately, rather than waiting for fleeting moments of inspiration. Most people rely on external circumstances to feel good or be in the right timeline. But this is backwards. High-frequency states must originate from within. The external world merely reflects them back. The ancients called this inner harmonics, the precise tuning of your consciousness so that it vibrates in resonance with the timelines you wish to inhabit. Amplification begins with deliberate awareness. Most people drift through life unconsciously, unaware of how thought, emotion, and physical state interact to anchor them to certain timelines. Every reaction, every habitual thought pattern, every unconscious posture contributes to your vibrational signature. Think of it like a radio. If your frequency is slightly off, the signal becomes static. You may pick up fragments of the timeline you want, glimpses of opportunity, but you will never fully tune in. Conscious awareness is the dial, and your practices, breath, silence, movement, are the fine-tuning knobs that bring the signal into clarity. Consider the subtle power of attention. Where your focus goes, energy flows. Multitasking, constant mental chatter, and fragmented attention scatter your vibration across multiple, often conflicting timelines. The ancients understood this intuitively. Their meditative rituals were designed to focus attention like a lens, compressing scattered energy into a coherent beam that could pierce the fabric of reality and access timelines aligned with their intentions. Modern neuroscience now confirms the mechanics. Focused attention enhances coherence in the brain's electromagnetic field, which directly impacts the body's vibrational output. The more coherent your energy, the more you draw aligned circumstances into your life. Next comes intention paired with embodied emotion. Imagination alone is insufficient. It must be electrified by feeling. Joy, curiosity, gratitude, and love are high-frequency emotions that expand the internal field. When combined with deliberate mental focus, they become a magnet for timelines where those qualities dominate. Picture it this way. Thought is the blueprint. Emotion is the fuel. A blueprint without energy remains inert. Fuel without a plan burns chaotically. The fusion of both creates a coherent energetic signal that navigates the multiverse of possibilities, opening pathways to the realities you desire. This is where physical embodiment becomes crucial. Energy cannot exist solely in the mind. Every posture, every movement, every breath informs the body's electromagnetic field. The ancients encoded this truth into movement, arts, sacred dances, and postural alignment exercises that weren't meant for show but for energetic precision. Conscious movement circulates life force through the body, awakens dormant energy centers, and consolidates vibrational coherence at the cellular level. A fully aligned mind and body produce a vibration that is irresistible to high-probability timelines. But there is a hidden nuance here. Vibration is not merely about feeling good. It is about precision. Low-frequency emotions like fear or anxiety can masquerade as high-frequency experiences because they are often paired with ego-driven narratives of excitement or ambition. Many who chase wealth, fame, or recognition mistakenly believe they are raising their vibration, when, in reality, they are amplifying anxious or reactive states. True amplification requires emotional clarity, discernment, and the conscious elimination of low-frequency residues. One practical approach is the Triad Alignment Protocol. First, begin with breath. Not casual inhalation, but deliberate, diaphragmatic breathing that fills the lungs completely, circulates oxygen, and activates parasympathetic coherence. This primes the nervous system for elevated states. Second, silence. Enter a state of intentional mental stillness where thoughts are observed but not engaged, creating a receptive internal field. Third, movement. Gentle, mindful motions awaken the body's energy channels. Integrate the breath and mental clarity, and anchor the frequency into the physical form. Together, these three steps produce a vibrational signature capable of accessing higher probability timelines. Next, consider the role of temporal feedback loops. Your current timeline is not fixed. It is a dynamic ecosystem that responds to vibration over time. Small, consistent alignment practices create feedback loops that compound. A single coherent day may produce minor synchronicities, but repetition over weeks and months rewires the internal system, gradually stabilizing your vibration so that aligned timelines become the default reality. The universe mirrors this persistence. Opportunities begin to arrive with increasing regularity, relationships shift to mirror your coherence, and previously hidden pathways open with remarkable fluidity. Parallel timelines also operate with sensitivity to collective frequency. You are never alone in your vibrational field. Social, environmental, and cultural energies create resonance patterns that either support or resist your desired timeline. This is why it's essential to manage exposure to low-frequency environments, toxic media, negative social interactions, chaotic spaces, while cultivating high-frequency contexts. Seek coherence not only within but also around you. The people, spaces, and inputs you engage with act as amplifiers or dampeners for your internal vibration. The final piece is surrender, a principle often misunderstood. Surrender is not passive resignation. It is the conscious release of attachment to outcomes while maintaining vibrational integrity. When you attempt to force results, you create tension and fragmentation, which lowers vibration and narrows your access to parallel timelines. Surrender, practiced alongside disciplined alignment, produces a paradoxical effect. By letting go of control, you allow your coherent signal to resonate freely with the universe, attracting precisely what is aligned. To illustrate, imagine two people pursuing the same goal. One obsessively strategizes, worries, and clings to outcomes. The other focuses on alignment, maintaining elevated emotion, clear attention, and embodied coherence, then releases attachment. The first may achieve temporary results but remains trapped in low-frequency feedback loops, encountering stress and resistance. The second experiences effortless synchronicities, creative breakthroughs, and accelerated progress, because their vibration naturally opens pathways that were inaccessible to the first. Science provides a fascinating validation of these principles. Studies on quantum entanglement, resonance, and biophoton emissions demonstrate that living systems radiate energy that interacts with surrounding fields. Coherent biological vibration enhances communication between cells, aligns bodily systems, and interacts with external energetic structures. Parallel timelines, whether framed as quantum probabilities or energetic possibilities, are responsive to these coherent signals. Your frequency acts like a tuning fork. Misaligned and the signal fizzles. Coherent and the resonance propagates across dimensions of possibility. By combining these insights, emotional mastery, conscious attention, deliberate breath, mindful movement, environmental management, and surrender, you begin to operate as a conscious navigator across parallel timelines. You no longer stumble blindly, reacting to circumstance. You move with intention, resonating with realities that amplify your growth, creativity, and vitality. Each moment of alignment compounds, and over time, the timelines you inhabit shift in ways that feel almost magical, yet are entirely natural consequences of coherent vibration. And here lies the ultimate secret. The shift is entirely internal. The external world is a reflection, not the driver, of your timeline. Every synchronicity, every opportunity, every encounter is a mirror of your internal vibrational coherence. Once you understand this, you realize you possess an unprecedented level of power over your life experience. Not through force, manipulation, or wishful thinking, but through the deliberate cultivation of frequency, emotion, attention, and alignment. This is the hidden truth the mainstream never teaches. Timelines are malleable, vibration is measurable, and the universe responds precisely to the coherence you cultivate. Everything else, luck, circumstance, hard work, without alignment, is secondary. The ancients encoded this truth in every ritual, movement, and contemplative practice. Now, you have access to the mechanics, science, and methodology to do what they did. Navigate life consciously, amplify your frequency, and inhabit timelines that are rich, expansive, and aligned with your highest potential. You now understand the mechanics of vibration, coherence, and timeline navigation. But knowing is not enough. The real transformation happens when this knowledge becomes embodied, when the principles of alignment shape your daily life, your decisions, your emotional reactions, and your internal state. This is where the shift becomes permanent, where parallel timelines stop being abstract theories and become lived reality. Most people dabble in self-improvement without ever crossing the threshold from temporary alignment into fully stabilized coherence. They experience glimpses of clarity, bursts of synchronicity, but then slip back into the gravitational pull of their old timeline. This happens because they fail to recognize that timeline shifts require not just elevated frequency, but sustained vibrational integrity. To make the shift permanent, the first step is recognizing that your current identity is itself a vibration. Your personality, your habits, your preferences, your beliefs, these are not fixed traits. They are vibrational patterns conditioned by past timelines. When you attempt to enter a new timeline without changing the vibrational architecture of your identity, you create internal resistance. It's like trying to tune a radio to a new frequency while the internal wiring still supports the old one. Every timeline corresponds to a version of you. To step into the timeline you desire, you must gradually become the version of yourself who naturally inhabits that reality. Not through force or imitation, but through alignment. This process begins with emotional recalibration. Every emotion emits a frequency, and every frequency aligns with a timeline where that emotion dominates. If fear is your baseline, you will find yourself in timelines filled with uncertainty. If resentment shapes your emotional landscape, your reality will reflect conflict and stagnation. And if gratitude becomes your default state, your timelines will overflow with synchronicity, opportunity, and flow. The emotional tone you carry through your day is the strongest predictor of the timeline you will inhabit tomorrow. This is why the ancients placed such importance on rituals that cleared emotional residue. They understood that a single unresolved emotion could anchor an entire timeline. The next step is rhythmic consistency. Frequency is not built through dramatic breakthroughs. It is built through rhythm. The universe responds most powerfully to vibrational stability. A coherent signal becomes a beacon, drawing matching realities toward it. This is why your daily rituals, breath, silence, movement, are not just practices. They are the tuning mechanisms for your timeline. When you perform them consistently, they act like gravitational anchors, pulling you toward higher frequency realities with increasing strength. The The power lies not in intensity, but in repetition. A single day of alignment creates ripples. 30 days creates momentum. 90 days creates irreversible shift. But the most critical component, the one most people avoid, is the confrontation with the internal shadows that distort your vibration. Shadow emotions, envy, guilt, shame, regret, bitterness act like static in your field. They distort the purity of your frequency, scattering your signal and weakening your alignment. These shadows are not enemies. They are unfinished timelines, unresolved chapters of your internal story. When ignored, they pull you backward. When confronted with compassion and awareness, they dissolve, releasing trapped energy that becomes fuel for timeline ascension. This is why so many people feel sudden clarity after emotional release. The energy that once anchored them to low-frequency realities becomes liberated. You don't need complicated rituals to process shadows. You simply need to meet them with presence. When an emotion arises, observe it without resistance. Allow the breath to move through it. Let the body express it without judgment. As the emotion moves, it transforms. The vibration rises. The timeline shifts. This is the alchemy of consciousness, the transformation of dense energy into coherent frequency. Every time you process a shadow, you access a higher version of yourself. And every time you access that higher version, you step closer to the timeline where your highest potential lies. Another essential element of timeline mastery is intuitive action. High-frequency timelines do not unfold through logic alone. They require that you listen to the subtle impulses that arise when your vibration aligns with a new reality. These impulses often defy conventional reasoning. They may guide you to reach out to someone unexpectedly, take a different path home, change your environment, travel, learn a new skill, or release an old habit. These intuitive nudges are not random thoughts. They are signals from the timeline you're entering, guiding you toward alignment. However, intuition can only be heard when the internal noise is reduced. If your mind is cluttered with fear, overthinking, or constant distraction, the intuitive signals are drowned out. This is why silence is not a luxury, it's a requirement. Moments of stillness allow your internal field to settle, revealing the subtle impulses that align you with your new reality. Over time, intuition becomes a language, a direct communication from the version of you that already exists in the timeline you want to inhabit. Following these impulses accelerates the shift, because every intuitive action creates a vibrational bridge between your current reality and the one you are stepping into. As you progress, you'll also notice a phenomenon the ancients referred to as timeline shedding. This is the process where people, habits, environments, and circumstances that match your old frequency begin to fall away. It may feel uncomfortable at first, because the ego fears loss. But timeline shedding is not destruction. It is reconfiguration. The universe removes what is incompatible with your new vibration, so that what is meant for you can arrive. Resistance to this process creates stagnation. Acceptance accelerates transition. The final key in this stage is embodiment, the conscious inhabiting of the new frequency before external evidence appears. Most people wait for proof before committing emotionally or energetically to a new timeline. But the universe does not operate on external validation, it operates on vibrational resonance. You must become the frequency before you see the result. When you embody the emotion, posture, mindset, and energetic presence of your desired timeline, you signal to the universe that you are already there, and the universe responds accordingly. This is the threshold every conscious navigator must cross. The moment where belief becomes knowing, where vibration becomes identity, and where identity becomes reality. Once you step into this place, timeline shifts accelerate in ways that feel miraculous, yet are completely grounded in the mechanics of frequency and coherence. This is the point where reality becomes fluid, responsive, and synchronized with your internal state. This is where you stop surviving and start creating. You now understand that vibrations shape the timelines you inhabit. Every thought, emotion, and habit emits a frequency, pulling your reality toward a version of yourself that matches it. Fear, resentment, or doubt anchors you to low-frequency timelines, while gratitude, curiosity, and presence elevate you toward higher ones. The shift isn't about forcing change externally, it's about realigning your internal state. Your body, mind, and emotions must vibrate in coherence with the reality you wish to experience. Shadows like guilt, shame, or regret aren't obstacles. They're unresolved energy holding you back. By meeting these emotions with awareness, allowing them to flow through your body, and observing without resistance, you release energy trapped in old timelines. Intuition becomes your guide as your frequency rises, leading you to actions that feel effortless but are perfectly aligned with the timeline you're entering. Silence, presence, and conscious rhythm reduce internal noise, amplifying your signal. As you embody this higher vibration, external circumstances naturally reconfigure, shedding what no longer matches your energy. Your reality begins to bend toward alignment, revealing synchronicities, opportunities, and experiences that once felt impossible. The next step is yours. Start today by observing your emotions, quieting internal noise, and consciously vibrating toward your desired timeline. Commit to 5 minutes of presence, a deliberate breath, or a small aligned action. Document the shifts you notice. Share this with someone ready to step into higher timelines and begin reshaping reality. Not tomorrow, but now. Your vibration determines your destiny. Take control.